Hello, hello. Welcome. This is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste. I'm trying to turn on this light. It's not working. Oh, well, that's fine. Anyway, I'm so excited. I am here for a cosmic conversation with one of my teachers, Rebecca Gordon. I can't wait to talk with her. She's a brilliant astrologer. Hey, welcome, Ridiculisa and Patty and Back to Balance and everyone. Welcome, welcome. Will meow for food. I love these handles. People have such creative handles. Okay, let me invite Rebecca. Let's see. Here she is. Let's see. How is everyone doing? Does anyone have any thoughts about the new Pope? I think it's fascinating. He called himself Leo. Yes, yes, because one of the big transits at the new moon. Here we are. Yay!
Hi.
Hi, Rebecca. It's so good to see you.
How's it going? It's good to see you too.
It is going well. I'm excited. I like your new hairstyle.
Oh yeah, thank you. I just kind of did it myself a little bit, and then I got it fixed up.
It looks great as always.
Thank
So as I was saying, I'm so excited to talk to you as one of my astrology teachers and mentors. Why don't you introduce yourself in case anyone doesn't know who you are?
Thanks so much, Celeste. It's such a privilege to be on here with you and to see you develop over the last, I don't know, 7 years or so. It's been incredible. But yeah, my name is Rebecca Gordon, and I have been a full-time practicing astrologer, I guess, for about 20 years now. Yeah, 20 years. And it's been a magnificent journey. There's never a boring day in it. And I would recommend anybody who's thinking of studying to just take the plunge and follow your curiosity. I run an astrology school. I lead retreats. We've been teaching for about 20 years, and yeah, graduated many incredible, famous astrologers like yourself.
Well, I'm talking
um,
to Mecca Woods tomorrow.
what's
I'm
up?
talking to Mecca Woods tomorrow.
Oh my God, Mecca. Yes, I love Mecca. She was like one of my earliest mentees back in the day. Oh my God, I love Mecca so much too.
Yeah,
Good
she's
people
brilliant.
here.
She's
Celeste, you collect the best prize. Yeah.
Well, I just feel so honored when people say yes to my invitations because oh my God, astrology from hello had me so, I think it is so helpful to understand that life is not random, that there is this system that is so, even when it's a difficult time, and we're in a difficult time right now, there is this beautiful language that helps us understand where we are, how we got here, what may be coming up next, and it just it just brings more meaning into everyday life and understanding is how I feel.
I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, I don't know how people go through life without it. Like, it's such an elegant organizing principle of reality. And being a Virgo, we love our systems. And this is just like the quintessence of a system. I mean, and I what I love about you though, Celeste, I feel like in your transmission of astrology, as I really hear like your Taurus quality come out
Mhm.
too. And you have Taurus, right? And some
Yeah, Sun,
Earth, and
Saturn, and Taurus, and
yeah,
Mercury.
I feel like you bring such like this beautiful deep grounding cord into the community and make everything very tangible and relatable. You have such wonderful candor, conversational tone. It's just lovely to hear you. Like when I see you come on, I'm always lit up. So
Oh,
happy you're
thank
here.
you,
I'm so
Rebecca.
happy.
That warms my heart. Well, I really try to help people see the astrology of everyday life. Like today, we have a give. So on Sunday, just a quick aside about the Pope, we had a first quarter moon in Leo, and today we have the gibbous moon that's pregnant with possibilities. And the new Pope was announced, and it's in the sign of Libra, and this one-on-one, this talk connection, and I just feel like people are so excited about what could be coming from the future, what this new individual is going to bring in. And he picked the name Leo. It's so in line with everything. And I just think it's just so beautiful to witness.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying also reminds me of just like the landscape, and I feel like the word that we're entering, which feels like frontiers, like these new frontiers. And I think of like the frontiersmen and the Wild West, in this time period, last time we had Neptune and Aries and all these planets in Aries back in history, when it was like the big search out west for gold, the gold rush and all of that, was a previous Neptune and Aries cycle. And there is this very like nascent new beginning amidst a collapse that we have to foster and cultivate and understand what beauty can be emerging amidst the life support getting pulled and all of these systems collapsing. There's absolutely all of these planets in Aries, so let's listen to those voices.
Absolutely. I love that. And well, I'm going to go on a tangent, and I want to ask you, how is it having the South Node in Virgo with being a Virgo sun? Don't you have a couple of things in Virgo?
Oh my God. I've been through, and I don't use this word lightly. In fact, I've never used it in my life. I thought I would never say this word because it's a little bit like spiritual, cheesy, ego death. I feel like I've had a lot of ego deaths, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but they've been coming in hard in the last month with the South Node. Um, yeah, on all my planets, it feels like it's pulling away. I have a stellium in Virgo for those that don't know, and the South Node has just been right on my Venus, like how I used to see myself as a woman, as a human, these previous iterations that I might have had of ego and self are just like all in a million pieces. And I don't have any desire to put them back together either. It's like, okay, they're not gonna go back together again like Humpty Dumpty, right? It's like we're gonna, and that feels like everything right now, the world, like things are in a million pieces, we're not supposed to put it back together again, the South Node situation here. And so it's interesting, and being okay with that kind of being in all these pieces and not knowing. And yeah, it's definitely a new space for a little Virgo like me.
And how do you describe the South Node to people?
Like a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it feels like. It feels like it's sucking out all of the things that I thought defined me and were parts of personality. And so, like, that part of me that was the wave is like becoming in the ocean again. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I am the ocean. And do I really need to articulate as the wave? So it's that moment. The South Node pulls you into the oceanic pool, the whole field of reality where you lose those senses, the articulation of selfhood. And I think it can be scary, if like you've defined yourself by a certain career, which most of us have, or a certain this or a look or all these things that make us feel like we're, you know, like we're a thing, like we're part of something and we have something to express. And the South Node really does kind of wear those away because its purpose inherently is the opposite of the dragon's head, right? It's the dragon's tail. It's not about the ego and the forthgoing nature forward into reality. It's about pulling us back and reminding us that we are all in this vast ocean together. We are all everything and we are all nothing at the same time. And the South Node is that exactly. It is a bit of an ego death. Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming toward my Pluto, and I'm really feeling it, bringing up all this shadow stuff, and it's in my third house, and I'm questioning everything about my communication, my thought processes. So it's
I'm here for you. If you ever want to talk self-nody stuff, I mean, I've definitely just been processing that the last year.
Absolutely. It's a wild time. And so today we wanted to talk about these macro cycles that we're going into. And before we get to ecosystems, you brought something up really interesting, talking about how old systems are dying. We have several planets which are going to, Neptune already moved through the 29th degree of Pisces into Aries. Saturn's getting ready to do this journey, and then Jupiter's changing signs, and Uranus is changing signs. Can you talk about how you see going through that 29th degree of crisis, decay, and anything else you want to say about it, and then emerging into the 0 degree of the next sign?
Yeah, that's such a juicy area to dive into. We're definitely in a space of endings and beginnings simultaneously. And you know, what you put your attention on grows.
Mm-hmm.
And the 29th degree, it's called the anaretic degree of any sign, for those who don't know, is the last degree. And that's a point of endings. Now, Neptune gets to that last degree every 14 years. Uranus gets to that last degree every 7 years. Saturn gets to that last degree every 2.5 years. And Jupiter once a year. And they're all meted on that last degree of this year. So it's this massive crescendo at 29 degrees. The whole cosmos is ringing this tune of collapse, and that word has been like definitely coursing through the collective psyche. There's a lot of talk of collapse, but I think we have to be careful, right? Because obviously that is something that is going on, the 29th degree. There is a lot of systems collapsing right now. Maybe some
It's literal.
for good and some not good,
Yeah.
and all kinds of things in between. But at the same time, yeah, there's the planets after 29 move to 0 degrees Aries. And so we can't just be like, the world is burning, everything's blowing up to 29th degree, because meanwhile the planets are moving on. They're like, we're ready to start something new. And our psyches and our bodies can't be hung up on this collapse story. So sometimes I worry about that. I see so much attention being put on the collapse, and I do think we have to shift the gaze if we do want to impregnate consciousness and build and co-create a new reality that is sustainable. We need to think about that 0 degree Aries point, and that we are the ones that are the conduits of the planetary consciousness. We are the ones that make planets and signs real. We're the ones that actuate their story. So how will we actuate this story at 0 degrees of Aries for Saturn and Neptune? How will we actuate this story of 0 degrees of Gemini, for Uranus, and 0 degrees of Cancer for Jupiter, 0 degrees of Pluto, Aquarius, So like, we're the ones that are, we should really be thinking about that and the frontiers of what that can look like, because if we don't, somebody else will be doing that for sure. So I think we might as well be the ones.
Absolutely. And I have loved seeing so far some of the 0 degrees of Neptune and Aries and some mythic heroes. Like, after people have been, it just is bringing back some new exciting energy.
Yeah.
So why don't we talk about ecosystems? So why don't you
Yeah.
explain your ecosystem thing, and then we could dive
My
deeper.
ecosystem thing. Sure.
Oh,
Sure.
you know what
I'm happy to do that. Yes. And I mean, yeah, there's a lot of talk about Aries and the hero's journey, and I definitely think it's going to give a big nod to the heroine's journey as well, that hasn't been discussed much in the collective psyche. And with all of these planets moving into Aries, I do think we're going to see a new kind of the feminine emerging, a new flavor of what it is to be a woman that is emerging out of all of these Aries points. So I'm really excited about that. And that's something that I've been thinking a lot about, the archetypes of the feminine that are emerging in this new paradigm, and even hosting a retreat about that soon. So I've been writing about that all day, honestly. It's been what's lighting me up. But yeah, Ecosystems. You want to talk ecosystems,
Yes,
Celeste? And
yes,
then
because
we
I
can,
love
okay.
the way you dialogue the elements.
Okay. Ecosystems. So we'll start off with thinking as we are all Earth, right? Our bodies, we're all made Earth, space, everything out there. Our bodies has the same stuff that's out there. So let's just first start seeing ourselves as not that much different from everything out there. We are simply this unique consciousness that's embodied in a very complex form, right? Um, so look at your body as an ecology, as a part of nature. So let's start to think of that. And I generally give the inner planets a bit more prominence in this ecosystems approach. So, say if you have a lot of Leo and Pisces, I would see, and Sagittarius. Actually, let me give a different example. If you have a lot of Scorpio and Sagittarius, so that's water and fire. Now I want to think about what kind of water. Scorpio. Celeste, what kind of water is Scorpio?
It's I see Scorpio as the ocean. It's very deep water, and like down beneath there is there is something that is murky about it, and it feels like a little intimidating to dive into that level because one leaves one exposed and revealed. That's something I think about when we're thinking about Scorpio. It's so penetrating and investigative, and because it's ruled by Mars and Pluto,
Yeah.
it's pushing us to maybe into areas that we'd rather not visit at times, but it's for our greater good.
Most definitely. The depths of the ocean where you can't see anything, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we can imagine the fires of Sagittarius. Let's say somebody's got a lot of Scorpio and Sag, are going to meet those depths of the ocean. Then you're like, okay, so where in the world does fire meet the darkest depths of the ocean? Um,
Ooh,
I could think
water volcanoes.
volcanoes. Yes. So now we're thinking about volcanic energy. And you can think of like Hawaii or something. So this deep fire, magma that comes from way beneath the Earth's surface, rises up from these deep oceanic waters and spews out magma and everything and lava and all of that. And there's a volcano, and that's a very volatile, intense energy of creation. It's also generative, it creates, and it's spewing out this pure fire and energy. Now, we can think of that as like bringing things from the depth out into the open. And often you find people who have this Scorpio Sagittarius quality. We're using the image of a volcano, and we can add in, if they have like a Mercury and Libra, we can add in some wind and all that. But
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, we want to think, so what are they doing? Yes, they are bringing things in from the depths that have been hidden out and exposing stuff and becoming truth. And they're doing it maybe even with a sense of humor and a little punch too. There's definitely that quality of humor. But we find artists, this is often an artist chart. This is in people who are perhaps in the shamanic world or artists. They're bringing things up to expose, and they're not here to create earth and systems and structures and barriers and tributaries. Some people are, right? So as some people might be all Capricorn and Libra, and they are so good at letting the clay dry to build a solid tributary. They're a systems builder. And then somebody who creates all of this culture, Pisces, Libra, their water and air will flow through the systems of tributaries. So it takes a village, right? What I do is I look at a team. I'm working with like team building exercises a lot, like Google's team or better, different teams, and I'll see each of their unique role in an ecology. Some people might be all air, and their role is to impregnate thought and and not everybody is an implementer and a tasker and a systems builder. So I really firmly believe, I don't know about you, but I think we just fully need to live out our genius. And I'm all about creating the right environment so that your ecosystem can thrive and you can just do you, and you can be the best ecology of what yours is and commit to it fully. So remember, in our classes, the question was always, okay, what does your ecology need to thrive? And how can we get there and work backwards? and what sets it out of balance too, because we all have that one thing that can set our whole ecology out of balance, and to know what that is inherently as well. Like my ecology is so much Virgo, I have so much earth. And very early on, I was creating systems before I was even knowing it. When I was 24 years old, I was writing down my processes. And so then when it came time to like hire people and start, I like had a whole notebook of systems to share. And I was like, so, you know, but that is me. So I love helping my water sign friends with that and other people do that, because that's sort of stuff I do naturally and it's fun. My ecology is like a lot of different, like an herb garden, you know, there's rosemary and there's sage and different things growing in these like well-organized fields, and there's sunlight with a Leo rising. I have a I have a moon and Mars, a Marn in Cancer, moon and Mars in Cancer. So they get some water and some rain. Maybe there's some tropical gardens there. Yeah. So anyway, we see this sort of like ecology that grows things that then go to market. And then the farmers at the market and sell them and this and that. But it's part of a whole turnkey system. And I see where I fit into that. I see my role in that. And I just want to do that. I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve the herbs from the garden and the astrology, and to, you know, do the Virgoan thing, bring it into the community. I feel like yours is a similar ecology, but with different signs, Celeste.
I'm a Taurus sun, Aries moon, and Cancer rising.
Taurus sun, Aries moon, and Cancer rising. Yeah. So you also have the same, we both share the same of Earth sun, but you have a water rising and a fire moon. So a different kind of Earth.
Yeah.
That I do.
Yeah.
Your Earth.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, well, how would I describe Taurus as versus Virgo? Like, I love how you talked about systems. Taurus feels very like gardeny.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it is definitely the deep roots. And there's something so grounded. Like, it's the earthiest of the earth. We're like developing the deep root systems. And I feel like when you popped into the astrology community, I felt that like these deep roots developing, like you were connecting to people and sort of bringing the community together in this very sturdy, grounded, earthy way that was felt. And your tree sort of developed, these deep root systems that extended wide and far and deep as well. And then the Cancer rising, sort of how you show up, and you're very engaging and you connect deeply with people and you want to listen and ask questions and nurture relationships. And then your moon is in Aries. And so your ecology is this wet, fertile soil, you know, that has a lot of minerals in it. Taurus Cancer, that's the most fertile you can get in the zodiac. So, I mean, if somebody has a lot of Taurus and Cancer in their chart, they might have high fertility, but that's dark and it's wet. And animals go to dark and wet places to have babies usually. You know, you never see an animal having a baby in the bright open sunlight. They go to where it's dark and moist and they have a baby there. So it's interesting. So that's fertility, you know.
I have my fertility is ideas.
Exactly.
With my Mars and Venus and Gemini. I'm like always.
Yes. I love that you said that.
It comes from my head, not my uterus.
Same here. I'm like, nothing's gonna come out of this uterus except ideas are coming out of the same. Yeah.
I love that. The dark, fertile soil. That's such a great point.
But then we bring the Aries. You have the Aries moon you set into it, which brings sunlight. And we're like, oh, so is there a fire? Are we lighting the fire? Are we making a little bonfire here? What's going on? We're lighting the torches. There's some sunlight, and this is an interesting thing, because first this says, hey, I got to do it my own way, and I'm going to go on my own mission. I need to take risks. I'm going to go on my own heroine's journey. I mean, that background gives you the support and everything to go on the heroine's journey and take your torch and guide it out into the darkness and into an unknown path and pave your way.
That pioneering Aries spirit. I just quit my corporate job, started my astrology business, just my little fool's journey. As
Beautiful
Uranus was
journey.
on my sun, Saturn conjunction. Yeah, it's
I
very
witnessed it
literal.
all. I remember you being in the class throughout it, and it was so beautiful to see you take those Aries moon risks. And I remember other students were just like, oh, look, Celeste is doing that. We can do that too. You really did guide the way so beautifully.
Oh, thank you. I love that. Yes, yeah. It's the Aries moon, it's like it gets me into trouble sometimes, but it also is that fire starter that, you know, that thank God for it. Because if I was just all Taurus, yeah, that would not be because I can get really, really comfortable. But that Aries fire energy is like pokes me to like do something else
Yeah, so
after a
neither
while.
of us have air in our ecology, so it's important. I mean, maybe you do in other planets, right?
Mhm.
In other ones, but in our sun moon rising, we don't.
Yes.
So I always think that's interesting to know in your sun moon rising what is missing, and that's what we invite in as well. So much to our ecologies and in
Ah,
our worlds too. Like I think that's something that you and I do a lot too. But we have when you don't have a lot of air, which I think you have other plants there, you have to remember to take more breaks, right? And to have
well,
time in between things and to take breathers and all that kind of stuff too. So
that's the problem.
literally to bring
So
more
yeah,
air.
so if you're missing air from your ecology, remember to take breaks. That's good advice. What about if you're missing fire from your ecology?
You need perhaps to remind yourself to play and laugh and listen to music and dance and let loose, or even just like sweat and do a really hard workout. Like you need to get the heart rate up, get the body fiery, get things going. Um, and it might not be natural for you to do those things. So schedule them in. And, like if you need to, workouts and laughter and dance and things like that to bring
Ah,
more,
I love
literally
that.
bringing
What
more fun.
about Earth if you're missing Earth?
I mean, we talk about things that you can do in your life, but there's also kind of other foods. And I would say on a business level, there's, you want to kind of, there's people that I would work with for each one too. Like if you're missing
Yeah.
air, I think maybe it's strategy that you need. If it's fire, it's promotional marketing and things like that. And if we're talking about earth, it's creating long lead kinds of systems and structures and implementation and tasks and all of that kind of stuff. So like if you're missing earth, you might not really love to do that. You might be good at it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going to drain your energy. And
Mm.
just this is really about what drains your energy and what makes you feel energy rich. um so if you don't have a lot of earth, you might not enjoy doing all those things. They might not give you energy. So I don't think we should be doing a lot of things that are not ideal. Sometimes we have to do some things that we don't love, but you don't want to
Mm-hmm.
spend that your whole life. I have a friend who's all like has got a lot of water and fire, and she grew her business, and of course, like any entrepreneur, she ended up at some point doing a ton of admin. And I just feel like her life force was getting drained, and one day she just was like, enough, I'm going back to making art. And even though she was really good at it all and all the PM tools, she just realized this is not me. Even though I can do this well and I'm condoned for it, it's not good for my health and it's not good for the daily life. Yeah. So,
Ah,
well,
yeah. Well, also she could have just hired someone, don't you think, is another task.
exactly. That's what we talk about a lot in astrology for entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Yes, Rebecca has a great class called Astrology for Entrepreneurs that can help you understand your ecosystem, realize what you're missing, what you need to bring in, and just to close the loop. If someone doesn't have any water in their ecosystem, which is their sun, moon, and rising, we're talking about what can they do to, or what can they be aware of
Yeah.
that they might
So
need?
think about like a machine without any grease or oil running it. Things can get a little rigid and they can lack trust in the flow of things. So there's no flow, there's no grooves that are moving. And we might say, is this going to happen? What's going to happen? Can we trust that's going to happen? Is it going to? Because it's dry, it's drier. And so these people are having to develop their own self trust and more faith in themselves and their vision.
Ah,
And
uh-huh.
and also aside from that, I would say sometimes it's more like what they call in business soft skills. So like the softness of building relationships and taking the time to connect more deeply. Yeah.
So don't just be about business all the time. You got to remember to, those emotional connections as well,
Yeah.
nurturing them.
Yeah.
I love
Yes.
that. Yeah. Well, let's talk about, we talked before we got online about the new version of the feminine that's going to be emerging, because part of it is we're moving from a lot of yin energy where Pluto, Neptune, and Saturn were in yin signs, and now, which are earth and water yin, and now they're all going to be in yang signs by the end of this month. So, and the how that connects with the feminine and how you see the feminine changing in some ways.
Yeah, thanks. I've been thinking a lot about the role of the feminine lately, especially in light of, this so-called broligarchy thing that seems to be happening out there in the space of governance right now. And, I'm thinking about how the universe sort of loves extremes and the pendulum thing. We pendulum this way and then we pendulum that way. And what does this mean? Why are we penduluming so hard into this very oligarchic, dictatorial way of doing things? Why is that happening? And I'm thinking also, where's the feminine? What is going on with the feminine? Why are things so imbalanced right now? Okay. And as that's happening, I'm just looking around also, and I'm seeing new women with new kinds of women and new archetypes of women emerging. And I'm just thinking about, like, what are we as, I mean, maybe this is going outside of astrology a bit. Can we go there?
Oh, yeah.
Celeste?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. I mean, it sort of maps back into astrology, but I mean, hold on one second. What I'm thinking about is that since we went so hard on this side of things, that was this oligarchy side, we are going to be penduluming into a new embodied feminine. And it's going to be, what I'm seeing is more of the Aries quality. And so as women, if we just want to track like what women have been through, we have the 1950s sort of like caricature of a woman that's just extreme, and then we had, of course, the 70s feminism movement, and that
So
sort of more
1950s was like the housewife, and
yeah,
which is being recreated by the trad wife trend.
exactly, that's coming back around right now. So these go in cycles, right? So we had like the housewife, the trad wife, right, of the 50s, and then that pendulum swung to the 70s feminism, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
I
we
don't
had
need a man. I need, what is it? A fish and a bicycle. Whatever Gloria Steinem said something
right.
about. I can't re- I can't remember her exact quote, but there's something about a fish and a bicycle and a man. But,
I
yeah.
don't know that one, but
Yeah. If
um
anyone knows what I'm talking about, put it in the chat,
so
please.
so I'm then thinking about where, and then the whole like boss babe, boss bitch thing happened. Every woman's trying to be a boss and wear a suit, and women sort of posturing as men a lot in order to make it in the boardroom, in order to make it in the world, all of the male posturing and having to leave all of the softer, more feminine aspects behind. And then this sort of compliance back to the whole trad wife situation that seems to be coming back around from the 50s right now. I'm just like, oh, yawn, what is going on here? Wake up. Okay, what are we doing? And so I'm thinking about these four archetypes in fire, earth, air, and water. And I'm just like playing with this right now. It's like fire being the huntress archetype, earth
Love
being the queen archetype, and I can explain these more. Water being the lover, and air being the priestess.
that.
And what, with all of these things that women have been, boss bitch, yoga mom, this, that, our bodies, by way of our uterus, are absolutely connected to the moon and to these natural cycles. Like, we're completely plugged in to this whole solar system anatomically in some wild way, right, Celeste?
Mm-hmm.
And I've just been thinking lately about how our role also to kind of like literally as a conduit between the earth as women, between
Mm-hmm.
the earth and man, also of a connection of between cosmos and earth, of to listen and turn what does this planet need, and guardians of this earth to be absolutely sort of moving the ocean because we are connected to this earth in a way only women and our species is. So to take on this sort of Aries energy of pioneering, and pioneering in a very bold and strong and Aries way, in reverence to exactly what this earth needs now and what this planet needs. And I think as women, we are hardwired to do that, to take care of our planet, to take care of our children. If we don't have children, we are taking care of our planet and we're taking care of our projects. And this element of birth, as you were saying, we don't have to birth children. You know, we birth communities, we birth ideas. But I think there's a new, we have to be seen as this sort of generative energy that births and that creates, and ultimately the culture and community. And so I guess like to draw this back to the Aries quality, it's a strong feminine, it's a fierce feminine, and it's also a combination of priestess, air,
Mm-hmm.
and huntress, which is fire, which is where things are going. So
I love
I'm
that.
just
Yeah. Oh, and let me say, so Mary, thank you, Mary. A woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. That's what Gloria Steinem said. That's so funny with what you're talking about. It is so interesting because Venus stationed to go retrograde in Aries, and it's like we're rethinking about the feminine principle in this independent pioneering sign, and it went back into Pisces, and now it's coming back into it's and now it's back in Aries. So we've all had this internal review and revising and revision of that Venus principle and that feminine principle, and how is it coming out now is really interesting. And I've talked about with Neptune and Aries, I feel like we're all called to be our own Aries, the self, mythic hero
yeah,
Neptune in some
exactly
new ways.
giving rise to the heroine's journey. I think the heroine's journey, which hasn't been talked a lot about, we hear Joseph Campbell's hero's journey for decades. And I
Mm-hmm.
think all of these planets and Aries are giving rise to heroine's journey. And also what it is to be a woman. Like it's like we've been wearing all these hats, you know, the boss babe, the trad wife, the this, the that. And none of it really speaks to sort of our role as what we curate, create, and birth. And I'm not just talking about babies, right? But
Yeah.
also our role and our deep connection to this planet and to take care of this planet. And that we are sort of creating the space for men to do that. And I do think the pendulum is somehow swinging over this next 20 years when Pluto's in Aquarius.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, go that way is 40 and just found out they're pregnant. They haven't been pregnant in 19 years. Well, I think the North Node in Pisces, which is very fertile,
That is
grabs you by the
amazing.
tail.
I wonder what her sun and moon and rising are.
Yes, put it in the chat, your sun, moon, and rising, if you don't mind. That's so interesting. And if you know your chart, I bet the North Node in Pisces is doing something, maybe to your Venus. Yes, congratulations.
That's
Mm.
wild. So yeah,
Hmm.
Venus is in Aries right now, and that's certainly showing up in this time. Um,
Oh, there's
yeah.
Scorpio, Gemini, and Capricorn. Well, Jupiter's in Gemini, so
Oh wow, it's Scorpio, Gemini, Capricorn. Okay, that's
yeah.
really good with Jupiter and Gemini, and we have a beautiful new moon coming up in Cancer, conjunct Jupiter. Well, when it's in Cancer, that's coming up at the end of
Hmm.
June later.
Yeah,
Um, anyway, so let's talk about where we're going now ecologically though.
yeah.
Like what this looks like if we're going to take the future. What would instead of looking at our charts as an ecology, let's look at the sky right now. Do you want to do that, Celeste?
Yeah, let's do it.
So like, first of all, Pluto and Aquarius, like where we're going in the year with Uranus and Gemini, we got this big, open, airy expanse of land, right? There's a lot of air. You can see everything, right? Where it used to be, where Pluto was an Earth, there was all these thick mountains. And Uranus was also in Taurus and Earth. So everything was heavy and dense. And now it's sort of opened up. So this sort of like airy space where information and everything can move so quickly through the air.
And it's destabilizing for people. And like, I feel like with all of this air, we're going to need to protect our energy more and more and more, and from the constant distractions of the news and information, and like the fact, like with TikTok and everything and reels, like it's just a minute. It's just so much distraction. It's going to become just too much for the mind to handle as Uranus goes into Gemini if we're not doing something protective.
Agreed, completely. Like all of the outer planets used to be in earth and water, and now they're all moving into fire and air. Earth and water are super heavy and dense. Air and fire are super light and they move fast. So if you imagine these big open frontiers like the Wild West, and with a lot of sun on this big open ground, and there's nothing in the way. And agree, all the whole electromagnetic field is just open. How are we going to do that? I don't know if our nervous systems are ready at all for this future.
I just got this image when you said that. So this open frontier, and all of these horses are going in all of these different ways. Like we're not, and the possibilities are endless, but you could also get like lost or so far off the path.
Exactly. The horses can run wild and get lost in all of these airy directions. Yeah, where we used to have kind of like, oh, climb that mountain, get to the top, this Capricorn way, and build your foundation, Earth, Uranus and Taurus, Pluto and Capricorn. Yeah, it's so wild now. And I think it speaks to also like, quantum computing and all the things of theoretical physics that we're coming into with this whole space of air and Uranus, Gemini, Pluto and Aquarius. And who knows, astrology might get mapped more to things like complexity theory and entanglement, like it used to be in a more Piscean space for quite a while. And we might start to see astrology showing up and explained by quantum physics, as the nodes in these complex systems.
Explain more about that. I'm trying to get to understand that quantum physics and astrology and how.
Well, I mean, I think that's what Pluto and Aquarius and Uranus and Gemini will help do to astrology, is sort of bring it into these conversations. So what quantum physics and theoretical physics already talks about is astrology without calling it astrology. Like if you like complexity theory, you have all these complex systems, and I'm going to butcher it right now, like for the sake of this, because I am not by any means a quantum physicist, and I don't want to posture, but basically all of these systems begin to develop some sort of coherence, and they begin to talk. And so let's say every time Uranus is doing this, these things are happening on Earth. And these things start to communicate with each other, and patterns develop, right? And all of these patterns develop. Astrology is basically complexity theory, and it's fractals of fractals developing similar patterns and repeating. And I always say as above, so below, but also as below, so above. And things we are creating down here also impact what is down there, because they are mapping back and forth constantly. So there is that. And I mean, entanglement is also from the moment of our charts, we're entangled with that moment forever. I do think there's a whole lot of quantum theories that are going to even be mapped to the act of an astrology reading. Like you as an astrologer, you can see somebody's getting a Pluto transit, right? So you're like, okay, what words are you going to choose to tell them that Pluto is on their sun? There's a whole myriad of opportunities that Pluto transit could be. It's almost like these are all waves. And when you say to the client, this one thing could emerge, that just collapses all of that wave material into this one particle reality. And so now the client is thinking, out of all those versions of reality that could have been, it is this one. And they are so much more likely to manifest that because you've said it as well. And I think there's going to be some actual like larger explanations to these things in astrology. And I think astrologers have a lot more responsibility than they do. Like, we need to have, bedside manner and counseling skills and all these things because of this, because the way we say something and how we say something as astrologers can have a lot of impact. And I think these are also mapped to different, theories in theoretical physics. But I mean, this is just part of my just thinking of what Uranus and Gemini and Pluto and Aquarius can look like for astrology. I do think it's going to get in bed with science a lot more.
Yeah. Yes, and when you're having a transit like Pluto on your sun, it doesn't just show up in one way. It like shows up in myriads of ways. So that's why astrology can be so helpful to understand, help people understand what they're going through. There's some comments here. We'll be getting more downloads with Uranus going into Gemini, and then there's a quickening of the energy. And there's a comment, astrology is your thumbprint in the universe. And then free will comes into, you can take many paths with each of these transits.
I mean, it's always an interesting question about free will. I love that conversation.
Oh, yes.
How
Please
much
share your thoughts.
Free will do we actually have? I mean, I'm curious how you feel about that first, Celeste. I think it's an important conversation here. I mean, I like to think we're freeing the will. The will is definitely something.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
It's so interesting. I feel like we are more likely to exercise our free will when we are at our best self, when we're grounded, when we are cognizant of our actions, when we are slowing down and but a lot of times it feels like we're following a map to a certain destination, and it's almost, we almost have a sense of destiny within ourselves. But we've got to think that we have free will, or else nothing's a choice, or everything's predestined. That doesn't feel good.
I think
for a sentient being.
For sure. I don't feel that. I do feel that there's some sense of destiny out there. But I'm imagining, like in the future, we will be able to enter our charts in not this two-dimensional way. Also with Pluto and Aquarius and Uranus and Gemini, to have this like whatever, AR, VR, all the R's reality, this animated like real version to be in and see the myriad of potentials in your chart and be actually walking through it and to see the different roads emerging. Because, we see people with the same chart all the time that are in completely different life circumstances. One born in a war zone, one born in a great neighborhood. And I mean, I think the soul is what it is. The soul animates the chart. I mean, this is what I feel, at least. And many, different souls can choose the same chart and will live at that moment in time out extremely differently based on that. And we get the family and the circumstances. And I do think that the souls sort of vibrate to the exact circumstances they need in life. I don't know. I don't have any answers on this. There's no way to know these things. These are just a feeling. And it kind of resonates with that and what it's a match for. In whatever way that is, it feels like it goes for what it needs and it desires. But I don't know how this works. I mean, how are we to know? It's just a feeling.
I had the really great pleasure to have a student in my last class who had the same birth date as I did, but she was born a few hours later. And we talked about our charts. She came for a reading and we talked about, so we have the exact same chart, but different houses. And it was just absolutely fascinating to see how our cosmic design showed up so similarly and differently in different ways, and how there were certain things in our lives that happened around the same time. Like we both, our mothers died within months of each other, and we had this divorces around the same time. It was really fascinating.
It's amazing how that happens, right? Certain rites of house, things happen at similar times, even though you might be completely different souls. That's so beautiful. You
Yes,
got to
yes, the
experience
same
that.
year, same date, same year.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
Mm-hmm.
amazing, Celeste, that you got to experience that. Um, hmm, what else do you want to dive into?
Yeah. So, any thoughts on Saturn and Aries and what we should be looking for as Saturn moves into
Oh my
Aries?
God. Clamping down on our personal rights. Yeah.
Mm.
Aries, your individuality, your individual rights. Um, Even though it might not be happening to you, it might be happening to your sisters or brothers in a neighboring town or another country, and we can't turn a blind eye to that. I do think we have to be super awake and aware. Because I was telling you about that movie that came out in 2003. What was it called? Zone of Interest, and that's what it was
Yeah.
all about. You know, how people that were just living right next door to Nazis and everything, just they were just stressed out, trying to like live their lives and have a nice life, and turn the other way. And we just, of course, Uranus does not do well in Taurus, and historically, every time Uranus is in Taurus, there is some sort of autocratic dictatorship or extreme fascist rule, I have to say. And
Mm-hmm.
Uranus has been in Taurus for the last 7 years. We've sort of been dealing with that. Um,
Yeah. I feel like that cycle is Taurus rules our values, and Uranus is, and the same thing happened in the 1930s where more conservative groups of people felt like the culture was getting too far away from their ideals of how things should be, that they were willing to grab onto the the strong man archetype in order to rein things in, and especially as Uranus gets to that fixed star algol, at
oh,
26 Taurus, where it is right now. It's like, is it at 26, 27?
yes.
Mm-hmm. And part of this, and even the vice president of the U.S. said that one of the goals of this movement is to behead the women's movement, which is so in line with
I
Uranus
know.
on
And
the
that's
fixed
why there's
star.
going to be this huge backlash of the women's movement. Women, get ready. Like we cannot sleep this. We cannot turn a blind eye. None of us can with this Saturn and Aries. And I feel like
The Save
if we're in,
Act, yes, trying to take it. You have to, if you've changed your name, you could lose your vote potentially. Mm-hmm.
what is that, Celeste? If you
It's the Save Act, and it's about, there's something about voting, and then you have to show ID, and if you've changed your name, and who changes their name the most? Women who get married. You'll have to have like a passport or jump through all these hoops to still be able to vote potentially in certain states with this congressional act that I'm not sure if it's passed yet or not. I think it hasn't passed yet, but that's what they're trying to put through. So not everyone could
wow.
afford a passport because it costs like over $100. And not everyone pays attention to what's going on. So there could be a sizable number of people, if they're not made aware of it, who go to vote and can't cast their ballot because their name on their driver's license doesn't match the name on their birth certificate and things like that. Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, like, how do we want to go down in history with our future ancestors? What side of the story are we on? What are we doing? Are we just sitting here and allowing this to happen? Like, it's, I do, it is certainly a challenging time right now, and there's also a need to be thinking about, okay, we've got to build new systems because yes, these are collapsing, and what are these new ones going to look like and feel like, and how, who's going to do what, and how are we going to create this? Because yeah, the life support's getting pulled on so much right now. And I mean, it's hard. I think it's also like we don't, nothing's stable. We don't know what's going to do. It's hard to even plan like 6 months ahead, right? We don't know where we're going to be. We don't know how the world is going to be. Are you? But we can just answer right now what's going on and respond to what is immediate. And this is a very Aries moment. This is happening now, and I'm going to revolt against that. I'm going to do this. You know, it's like just standing our ground in these instances, I think, goes a long way.
And I think Neptune and Saturn and Aries can give us the courage to deal with these maybe controls coming in or perceived limits on our Aries personal freedoms.
Yes.
And the courage to face them head on and
it will
and
give us the courage. And it's also religion, Neptune, getting into bed with government and law, Saturn, right? Like we're talking, it's like we're seeing that. And certainly that Neptune Saturn energy can concretize a dream and a vision too. It's so powerful. So it's like if anybody has a vision in their pocket, a clear dream, this is also the time to start building it. Like you can certainly get people very excited about a new vision and a dream and concretize it. It's also that too.
Yeah, I love Saturn and Neptune and Aries can be make your personal dreams a reality.
Mm-hmm.
And with Uranus going into Gemini, there's all these innovative communication tools that can help you. Like, I mean, ChatGPT has cut down so much time to get things
Right.
done. I love using it. Like, I'll just write a draft and put it in, and it'll help. You know,
Right.
don't change my voice, don't change my ideas, but just
Yeah.
clean it up and make it sound better. And
Absolutely.
it's
The world is definitely fertile for your new ideas right now with this Saturn and Neptune conjunctionary. It wants a new idea, it wants a new vision. It's hungry, it's thirsty for that because there's so much ending and collapsing for sure. I mean, Martin Luther King was born with Saturn trine Neptune exact, you know, and I always think of this famous I have a dream speech, which is so Saturn Neptune as well. And now they're conjunct working together. Yeah.
I love that. Yes. Ah, yeah. I think that's a very hopeful note
Mm-hmm.
to have people keep in mind. Like really think about what's going on in your Aries house of your chart. That's the
Yeah.
the the section of I am, our personal will, survival. Like I know people are feeling their survival threatened with
Yeah.
all these changes with prices going up and things like that. But
Yeah.
like think about what you're inspired by and how you inspire your own
I
self.
love that. I really feel like we need to encourage each other there to kind of have the strength, the wherewithal, the courage to step into that vision and dream where the Aries house is. That's great insight to look into that place in your chart. What house, especially 0 degrees Aries, is that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That Aries.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, tell everybody how they can find you. Anything else you want to share? You want to share about your retreat or
We
what have you?
do have, yeah, we have a really fun retreat coming up in Scotland. I've led it there once before in a beautiful castle on the coastline. It will be in October. Um, and on October 10th, you can message me and DM me on Instagram. That's so. Also, we have a whole suite of astrology classes, a calendar, a whole lot of different things. I wrote a book on astrology and the body with a doctor. But I'm at RebeccaGordonAstrology.com. And I do look at my DMs and Instagram. That's actually like the best way to write me. Or you can write, you'll see our classes and readings. I still do readings as well. They're on the website. Yeah, I mean, really what I'm looking to do a lot over the next year is find these very special locations and create these wonderful retreats and experiences. And that's what I've been focusing on lately. So if you're interested in more of those, definitely reach out. And I just want to say, Celeste, it's just like so special to be with you here again. And
Oh.
to have known you over the years, I feel like it's been, I don't know, I met you, what, 2019 or something?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and it's amazing to see you grow. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, well, thank you, Rebecca. I mean, your teachings have helped me so much in my personal life. You're the one who got me started on the moon and following it every day, and it's changed my life in so many positive ways and helped me understand myself. And I love talking to people and teaching them about the moon as well. So it's the eclipses and I just
Oh
love it
yeah,
all.
yeah, I love your mood memos.
Thank
Yes,
you. Well, it was so wonderful to connect. Are you going to UAC next year?
I will be. Yes, are you?
I am. I am. I'm going to be. Are you? I'm going to be
I
talking.
haven't
Yes.
looked at anything yet. I haven't done
Yeah.
any of that,
Yeah.
but I might. I'm not sure. Yeah. I
Oh,
just
that
started
would
to
be
think about that a few days ago, but I'm going to look into it certainly, and I recommend everybody come to UAC. It's such a special experience. Yeah.
absolutely. Yes. Well, it was so good seeing you and chatting with you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and insights. This was such a great conversation. And yeah, everyone check out Rebecca. She's fantastic. Okay, I will make you a collaborator in case you want to put this on your wall. And you have a beautiful day. Thank you for spending some time with me.
Thank you, Celeste.
Bye, Rebecca. Thank
Bye.
you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you.